Arthur Miller's The Crucible has always been a play that I've loved to read on paper, but I still have yet to see it performed on stage. Speaking of Arthur Miller, it's probably a good time right now to mention that his daughter, film director Rebecca Miller, actually married acclaimed actor Daniel Day-Lewis in 1996. The reason I'm telling you this is because the pair of them first got acquainted with each other while Daniel Day-Lewis was filming a movie adaptation of Arthur Miller's classic tale. Interestingly, an elderly Miller also wrote the screenplay, which was based on his original work. Based on the witch hunts of early Massachusetts history, The Crucible starts with a group of young women sneaking away from their heavily repressed Puritan society to engage in some daring antics for the fun of it. When they're caught in the act, however, they try and escape punishment by accusing others of possessing them in the name of the devil. Soon accusations begin piling up, as the accused pass the blame onto others after confessing their own sins. Things get worse and worse when the religious authorities take these women seriously and begin setting up trials for heresy against those accused. Some of the young women cunningly accuse people of witchcraft as revenge for old grudges. This is where we come to the ringleader of the group, Abigail Williams, played by Winona Ryder in the film. Abigail had previously worked for the Proctors and was seduced by John Proctor during that time period. Proctor's wife, Elizabeth, played by Joan Allen, found out and dismissed her because of it. Ever since then, John Proctor, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, has been riddled with guilt ever since, as he feels that his wife has been silently punishing him for it ever since. When the witch craze begins, he wants no part in it, and he believes that it's all madness. When his wife is accused of witchcraft, though, Proctor realizes that the madness threatens to take him along with it. The Crucible, edited and rewritten by the original author, adds several scenes to the film and fleshes out his characters in ways that he wasn't able to before. All the while, the story's messages are perfectly intact. It's no secret that the original play was written in protest of McCarthyism and communist blacklisting. People in that time were pressured to name suspects with communist connections to save themselves from suspicion. The House Un-American Committee, as it was called, polarized and alienated Hollywood celebrities from each other. People like John Wayne, Elia Kazan, and Ayn Rand, to name a few, participated actively in the naming of supposed communists, while many others risked their careers by refusing to betray their friends and colleagues. Arthur Miller was one of those who refused to participate in this ridiculous scare, and his play contains all the disdain he felt for the terrible way in which people's careers and lives were ruined based on suspicion and hate. The strict society that these people live in pushes these young women to fearfully pass on any suspicions from their shoulders to others, and they become so caught up in self-preservation that they feel little remorse when their lies lead to innocent people dying. In its adaptation of this sweeping tale, The Crucible is a grandiose film, filled with powerful emotions brought on by fear, religious zealotry, and passion. As to that mention of emotions, remember how I've said before that I can appreciate and love hyperbole when it works? Enter Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the greatest actors of all time. Day-Lewis is one of those actors who can fully absorb into any character he's playing. And this is no exception. His portrayal of John Proctor is inwardly tortured by his own sense of right and wrong, but at the same time, he's also scared of soiling his good name if he confesses to what he did. As the film reaches its climax, however, Daniel Day-Lewis makes the normally reserved and disdainful Proctor boil over with emotion, crying out in anguish as he witnesses justice replaced with suspicion and corruption. The sheer level of emotion that Day-Lewis builds his performance up to is overwhelming, and he's easily the most memorable part of this movie. Meanwhile, Winona Ryder is absolutely convincing as the complex character of Abigail. She acts out of obsession for the man who seduced her, and also out of fear, considering how few rights women had in those days. Obviously, these things don't excuse her terrible actions, but Ryder doesn't play her as a one-dimensional villain. She plays Abigail as a person, wounded and frightened, desperate to get what she wants. Meanwhile, Joan Allen received an Oscar nomination for playing the role of Elizabeth Proctor, and Paul Scofield delivered his final performance in film as the deeply conservative and terrifyingly imposing Judge Danforth, who feels no remorse for what he's doing. When it comes to adapting films from theater productions, they're pretty hit or miss for the most part. The Crucible knocks it out of the ballpark and back again. In between the classic rendition of a moral person trapped in amoral times, the stylish appearance of the Puritan settlement, the passionate performances, Miller's brilliant writing, and a wonderful soundtrack, I actually wonder why Death of a Salesman is the play Miller will be remembered for. Though, to be fair, I still have to read that one.